everyone, welcome back to another video. I thought I would come outside and find a nice shady spot today for today's video because I wanted to talk about everything that I am planning on planting for spring and summer for both my vegetable garden and also my backyard cut flower farm. This video should be coming out on the 1st of September, which, depending on what calendar you follow, is generally classified as the start of spring here in the Southern Hemisphere. And I thought it was a perfect time to do a video like this to show you all of the different varieties of plants that I'm going to be growing. I personally love watching these kinds of videos. It just kind of gives me a little bit of inspiration or a few ideas of different varieties that I might not have seen or grown before. So I hope you find this video interesting. I have a whole list here of plants that I'm going to be growing, and yeah, I am very excited to get some more food in the ground. In terms of our plans for the year, obviously we are expecting a baby in November, so things are kind of slowing down around then, but luckily my partner Scott is very interested in growing food, so he's going to kind of take over a lot of the garden and grow a lot of these plants. I am going to be growing flowers in a much limited capacity, which is totally fine. I've really been enjoying all of the beautiful early blooms that I have right now. Late winter is wonderful here for blooms. We are expecting the ranunculus to start blooming very shortly, and we've also got the anemones that have started. So if you are new here, my name is Robyn and I live here on the south coast of New South Wales with my partner and our 2 cats, and we do run a backyard cut flower farm here. We're going to be slowing that down as we expect our little one in November, but yeah, we're still going to be growing flowers here and there and taking them down to our local garden centre and farm shop. But I suppose this video is more going to be focused on a lot of the veggies that I'm going to be growing because I do have quite a large list. It's kind of been combined. Both Scott and I have chosen different varieties that we wanted to grow, so there's probably more on here than I would personally grow, but I wanted to let him choose what he wanted to grow. So yeah, I will do my best to cover all of these varieties. In terms of things that we already have sown, and this video is primarily going to just be seeds to sow now. If you are in more of like a temperate climate, which is what we are, and this also really does apply to the subtropics as well, although I know quite a few people have already got a good start on some of these varieties, like around southeast Queensland. However, just going to talk through all of them, and yeah, I'll try and put some photos up on the screen of the different varieties. So things we've already got in the ground, we do have quite a lot of potatoes that we've planted and they are all growing fantastic. They look amazing. I'm very excited to be harvesting some early potatoes, maybe in a month or so. And we also have quite a lot of brassicas that are all growing nicely now. They've put on a lot of growth as the days have become longer, the weather has become warmer, and yeah, other than that, a few different things around the garden. We've got a few onions planted. I have another tray of onions ready to be planted out in maybe 2 weeks or so. And we have a lot of herbs and medicinal plants in our cottage garden. So we kind of split the garden up into the cottage garden and the flower farm. And yeah, we're definitely going to be growing some vegetables down in the flower farm this year. In terms of flowers, some of the flowers that I've already started and that are growing, I have some trays of feverfew. I just take cuttings of feverfew. I find it so much easier. You get plants so much quicker, and you don't have to worry about seeds. So once you have your feverfew plants, definitely make sure to get onto making some cuttings of those. I've also got a few snapdragons, campanula, and those I'm just going to be planting in my cottage garden just for me to enjoy, to have a bit of beauty around that area. And I've got some more statice and straw flower that I'm going to be planting out into the flower farm, and they're again a really low maintenance crop that I know grows really well here, and I just do mixes of both of those, so I'll be able to dry some of those for Christmas decorations as well. And I've also propagated a few herbs here and there and other plants like some catnip for our cats and rosemary just to plant around the property, just to create a little bit more of a hedge on our fence line. And also I just really like those plants. So yeah, that's kind of what we've got going on that are physically growing right now. And now I'm going to talk about everything that I'm going to be sowing, or that I have sowed like the last few days, over the next few weeks. This is the list that I am going to be sowing. So first up is tomatoes, and I'm always so excited about tomatoes, although I must say I honestly never get the finished crop of everything that I do start from seed. Tomatoes, I just find they're quite difficult to grow, particularly when you have really high humidity like we did last year. We have a lot of king parrots around. I'm sure you can hear all of the birds in the background as well. We have a lot of wildlife, so I do find it a bit challenging, but there are a few larger varieties that I have actually started in the last few days, and I wanted to get those started soon because they take a lot longer. And I find the larger variety of tomatoes do better if you start them early rather than having them grow into the really hot and humid months like around January and February. That's when I don't have too much luck with tomatoes, and I usually stick to the mid varieties or cherry tomatoes in those months. But I have started a few beefsteak tomatoes. I've always wanted to grow these. I think they just look so cool, and I would love to be able to grow some really big tomatoes. Tigerella, this is more of a mid-sized tomato, and I've always had good luck with Tigerella. I love these. I love how they look. They're really fun to grow, and I find they're a little bit more disease resistant than some other tomatoes. There is a lorikeet above me, and that's really annoying to film with. I'm also going to be trialing Rouge de Marmande. I think that's how you pronounce it. This is a heirloom variety, and it has really beautiful like ribbed fruit, and I would love to be able to grow this variety. I'm also growing Roma and Moneymaker. I've had a lot of luck with growing Roma tomatoes in the past. They're definitely a staple in our veggie patch, as well as the Thai pink egg. This is definitely a variety that I would recommend if you live in the subtropics or you have really high humidity. It is a lot less, or it's a lot more disease resistant than some other varieties. They're quite small. They're kind of like the name, they're about egg sized, and they're a very, very beautiful blush pink color. I really like the taste. They're not too juicy, so they're kind of good for making sauces, and I just find they grow so well around here. I've always had good luck with these when I lived around Brisbane and down here, and I no doubt think I will have some that are self-seeding because I've seen some tomatoes pop up in the cottage garden, so we'll see what we get from those. And in terms of smaller cherry tomatoes, I'm going to be growing the yellow cherry honeybee and yellow pear. I love yellow cherry tomatoes. I find them just incredibly sweet and delicious, so I always want some of these in our garden. In terms of chilies and capsicums, this year, like always, I'm going to be growing some jalapenos. I really love growing these. I'm not a big spice person, particularly in pregnancy. I haven't loved spice too much. However, I do really love making salsa, and that's kind of why I wanted to get some of these. And they're also just, I find them quite easy to grow, so definitely be growing those, as well as some mini bell red capsicums and mini bell chocolate capsicums. I think the smaller variety of capsicums are a little bit easier, just because they're less likely to get damaged from the sun and bugs. And I think they'll just be really good to be a snack. I love capsicums to snack on, so yeah, I wanted to try and grow some of the mini capsicums. We're also growing Bulgarian carrot chili, which I've never grown or tried before. Scott wanted to pick this one out. Apparently this is really great for roasting and then making like salsa and chutneys. So I think that is going to be a delicious variety. And I also should have said at the start of this video, sorry, it's all a bit all over the place, but I do get most of my seeds from the seed collection. Pretty much all of these are from there, so wanted to throw that in. Moving on to a bit more miscellaneous, we're growing some golden nugget Cape gooseberries. I really love growing these. I want quite a few of these actually to try and make some jam, and I don't know, I love the taste of them. I really want to be able to grow more fruit. It's one thing that, you know, I crave a lot of and we haven't really done on this property, and we probably won't before we move. So I think these will be a great addition to the garden. I'm growing my favorite bush bean variety, which is Strike. I always have good luck with these. I have a fantastic harvest, like just too many usually. So I'm going to try and succession sow these a little bit better this year. And we will also be freezing a lot of these to preserve. So we'll be growing those, as well as the yellow butter bush bean and Preston's bush bean. So the yellow is a yellow bush bean, and Preston's I think is another green bush bean that I had a packet of seeds for, so I'll try that. We're also going to be growing Jolly Roger sweet corn, and we'll be growing this probably down the back of the property where it's usually quite moist and has kind of all the nutrients drained down to that area. Corn usually likes a lot of moisture, and I don't particularly want to be watering it all the time. And I know down there is, because we do have clay soil, a lot of the water kind of sits down there. So I think the corn will actually be really happy down there. So the only thing I will have to worry about is birds and other critters getting into the corn. So I'll keep an eye on that. Another thing that we're trying that I am really excited for, actually I'm probably most excited for this, is soybeans. I've never grown soybeans before. I love edamame. It is one of my favorite snacks, and I would love to be able to grow my own. So we're going to be trialing out growing soybeans. Let me know if you have any recommendations on growing those. I also really need to get on to starting some rosella seeds very soon. Again, this is another fruit that I really want some of because I make rosella jam. I haven't been able to make that the last few years because we haven't grown rosellas down here, but luckily my parents grow quite a lot. They live in like the dry tropics in North Queensland, so they can grow rosellas really, really well up there. And I do have a video on rosella jam on this channel if you're interested, but it is truly one of my favorite jams and I miss it so much. So I'd love to be able to grow that. I just don't know if it's going to be warm enough here. I'll have to just choose my position of the rosella very carefully. Yes, to make sure that it gets full sun and can have all of the warmth of the days. We're also planting some basil. We always plant this, and it usually self-seeds as well around the garden. We're growing lettuce leaf, sweet basil and Thai basil. I am going to be trialing again to grow both the green and purple artichoke. I just want 1 or 2 plants of these in the cottage garden that I can just kind of like let be and not do too much maintenance on. And I really like the look of the flowers of these, and I love artichokes as well, so I think they will be a wonderful addition, and I think the plants look really nice. We're also going to be growing some melons. We'll be growing Sugar Baby watermelon and Hale's Best rock melon. I think that's how you say it. I've grown Sugar Baby watermelon before, really like it. It's delicious. I haven't really tried growing too much rock melon, so we'll see how it goes, but I think I'll plant that down the back as well. Again, the only thing will be just making sure that we're dealing with different pests around that may want to eat those. Same with the pumpkins. We're growing Queensland blue pumpkin, Waltham butternut and golden nugget. I've grown Queensland blue and the butternut before. Really love both of those varieties, so that's why we wanted to grow those again. And golden nugget is just so cute and I really like the taste of it as well. It stores really well. Yeah, I wanted to try a little bit more of a smaller pumpkin as well. We grew so many cucumbers last year and we were just overrun with them, which it wasn't a bad problem. It was amazing to have that many cucumbers. But this year, in terms of cucumbers, I'm going to be growing Space Master. Doesn't need a lot of space, as the name suggests, and I really like the taste of these, as well as Green Gem. I've had really good luck with both of these, so want to stick to ones that I know and can grow well. And that goes for zucchini as well. We are going to be growing just the golden and black beauty. We grew a lot of this last year, had really great success. We only needed like really 1 plant of each of these. And I saved so many seeds from the black beauty zucchini. So I've got heaps of those to plant. And then I may be growing some Clemson spineless okra Scott doesn't really like okra, so I don't know if we will grow it or not. Maybe I'll plant 1 or 2 plants, but again, I'll have to make sure that it has a really nice full sun position, because we can sometimes tend to get some cooler days throughout summer. So I want to make sure that has optimal growing position and an optimal climate to be able to produce some okra. Moving on to flowers, like I said before, I'm going to be just growing flowers in a much limited, smaller capacity this year, just to make things easier for myself. But I do still want some flowers and blooms in the flower farm. I do think I am going to be able to supply like a few stores, maybe do a few special orders. So this list is not very extensive. If you do want to know what I've grown in previous years, then you can head to older videos. I'll leave some links of what I've grown before. This year I'm just going to be focusing on adding a little bit of beauty here and there in like our cottage garden and existing gardens that we have. And down in the flower farm, I am going to be growing things that I know grow well, grow quickly, and that I don't need to maintain or do a lot of cutting back. So to start out with, I do have a few that I am trialing out to grow for the first time, which probably isn't too smart, but I'm only growing like 5 plants of each, so it's fine. I am a scientist, so I do love experimenting. But for those, I'm going to be trialing green thumb amaranth. Never grown this before. I've actually never really grown amaranth at all. And also the African crackerjack marigold. Never grown this before, but I have heard a lot of people talk about this and they've had good success with it. So I wanted to see how marigolds grow and whether I like them or not to grow in future. I've also sown a few more blue cornflower seeds. I've got quite a lot of these that are already popping up in the flower farm that I will use to harvest and make bouquets with, but I wanted a few more to pop around the garden, also just to be able to dry and make teas with, and I just really like blue cornflowers, so I wanted to add some of those. In terms of cosmos, I am growing the cupcake variety, pop socks, and double Dutch rose. Those are the 3 that I've chosen to grow this year, and I will only be planting maybe about 4 or 5 of each of those plants, probably up closer to the house, so I can maintain them a little bit easier, but to be honest, I don't really mind if they go too wild. I do love cosmos and they really do add that whimsical look into my bouquets, so I definitely wanted to grow some of those. Sunflowers is one that I will be planting, and you know, Scott can also be planting this in the flower farm as well. We can just sow the seeds direct. I'll have to put a net or a hoop over them just to make sure the bandicoot doesn't dig them up and that mice might eat the seeds. But in terms of sunflowers, I'm growing lemon rush again, which I had a lot of luck with last year. Customers really liked this variety, as well as Radiance, which is kind of like your stock standard yellow sunflower. I do like to plant these quite close together, as I've kind of said in a few videos before, and it just means that the sunflowers are much easier to harvest. They're not as massive as some can grow. I find the massive sunflowers really difficult to work with in arrangements, so I prefer them to just be kind of the medium or smaller size sunflowers. They fit in much better with my kind of like market style bouquets that I make. And it's also easier to just, you know, grab like 5 sunflowers to put into a bunch and then take to my local farm shop, which is probably what I'm going to be focusing on when I do have the sunflowers blooming. I am potentially going to be growing some double dazzler sunflowers. These are kind of like that teddy bear, really fluffy full sunflower. I don't have the seeds for this yet, so I'm still deciding whether or not to grow these, as well as royal velvet, and I've had a lot of success with these in the past as well. I've also got straw flower, just a mix of straw flower on this list. I always grow this. It's a great low maintenance crop, and they grow really well here. They don't need a lot of nutrients. I can dry them to use in Christmas decorations, and they sell really well around this area. And I am growing some zinnias. I'm going to just be focusing on the Bennery's Giant series, and I'm probably just going to be growing a lot of the lime, lilac and purple colours of those. They look really nice together. I had a lot of luck selling these in bunches, so yeah, I think I'm going to just keep it to those. as well as maybe planting a few asters around. And I always want asters, but I never actually get asters because I'm never proactive enough to propagate them and grow them on. They kind of need a bit more of a longer growing season, so I might plant one or two like in garden beds like this behind me just to see how they grow and whether I actually do like them or not, but they do look like beautiful flowers, so I would love some asters. And then in terms of filler, I have heaps of feverfew planted around the property in lots of little different garden beds, and I have a bed of feverfew down the back that I've planted. Again, it's a stock standard in my bouquets, and it is really easy to harvest and grow, in my opinion. And I've got all those trays ready to go, so Scott and I can plant those out and yeah, have feverfew as our filler for the bunches. I found even selling bunches of feverfew works well around this area. I think people just really love the dainty kind of beautiful daisy look that feverfew has. The only thing that can be a little off-putting is the smell. I actually really like the smell of feverfew and yeah, the plant in general, but I know a lot of people don't, so I might pop in like a sprig of basil in with the feverfew, maybe some lemon basil or something like that, just to help out with the scent because it can be quite strong. All right, and that is it for the list of plants that I'm going to be sowing for spring and summer. I've got a little bit of work ahead of me, but again, I know this list does look like a lot, but just picture 2 people working on it at the same time. I'm coming into my 3rd trimester now and definitely slowing down a little bit, but still feeling like I'm still feeling really good, and seed starting is something I can definitely do. Scott can definitely help plant and harvest. So we're just trying to be a little bit more of a team with the garden this year. And I know he's really enjoying it. So yeah, I think we want to get as much done as we can while the weather is still semi-cool. It's definitely starting to warm up. Like I can just, you know, wear t-shirts out and about now. And yeah, it's crazy to think that when I'm filming this, it's actually still winter. I'm filming this a week in advance, but yeah, we're about to have a little bit more warmer weather, and it'll be really interesting to see what spring is going to be like this year. Last year we had a few really bad heat waves. I'm hoping that's not the case for this year, but we will see. I am still going to be creating a little sanctuary here in my backyard to be my happy place throughout pregnancy, and yeah, introducing our baby boy to the world as well. So I really want to have lots of beauty, lots of fresh food to enjoy. We're going to be having a lot of help with family as well. So yeah, I know this list probably does seem like a lot, but yeah, I wanted to share what we are growing and what we're excited about for spring and summer. Most of the garden is actually already prepped and ready to be planted. We have about 3 8-meter beds down in the flower farm area that are ready to go. We have amended the soil with homemade compost and horse manure as well that is breaking down under the black plastic that we have at the moment, just to keep the weeds down, because we had a very bad weed problem in that area. So we are just letting it rest before we will take off that black plastic pretty soon and mulch it, let the soil breathe before we plant everything in the ground. Scott also broad forked it, so that'll help with our clay soils as well. So anyway, I might wrap this video up here, but thank you so much for joining me for today's video. I would love to know what you're excited about for spring and summer. What varieties of plants are you growing? What are you most excited to harvest and grow? I know for me, it's probably going to be tomatoes and melons. I'm very excited to hopefully get some rock melons or watermelons. That would be amazing. If you'd like to see more from us, you can head over to my Patreon page, where I share lots more kind of like personal vlogs of what we get up to on the weekend and extra flower farming content, pregnancy content over there. Or you can head over to the Peas and Quiet podcast, which is a podcast that I run. I am doing fortnightly episodes at the moment over there. And yeah, it's on YouTube as well as any other podcast app that you listen to. And as always, if you do like my content, then give the video a like and definitely subscribe for lots more veggie growing and flower farming content as we come into the warmer months of the year. Thank you so much for being here today and watching this video. I hope you're all having a lovely day wherever you are in the world. And until my next one, happy gardening, everyone.